And welcome back. It is Season 3, Episode 2 of Fowl Players Radio. My name is Michael Spedden. This week we sat down with Johnny Daggers and Jeff Forloines. They both were involved in releasing a film under Johnny Dagger Films called The Noctambulist. A great new movie, very refreshing to watch because it was actually a silent movie. A silent movie being released in this day and age. You know, Johnny is somebody who's very interested in preserving that genre of film. Very heavily influenced by things like film noir and the early silent films. And he really, I think he nailed it. Now, on with the episode. Okay, we are here with Johnny Daggers and Jeff Forloines. Guys, it's great to be with you here.
Thank you, Mike.
It's great to be here.
I just watched your film, The Noctambulist. That is the new SAT word for our younger listeners out there. Make sure you look that one up because it's going to be on there. Guys, what a great movie. I really enjoyed watching it and everything. Tell me about it.
It was a labor of love. It was the film that I've always wanted to make. Growing up, I was inspired by very early horror, anything from Alfred Hitchcock, Rod Serling, Night Gallery.
Oh, wow.
Then as I got older, I started discovering early German expressionist films on my own.
Oh, such as...
Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Phantom Carriage, Nosferatu, even, the Silent Frankensteins. And those, I think, are the films that had the most drastic impact on me. So, although my career started in late 2009, 2010, I never really got to make the film that I wanted until Noctambulist came about. So, it was certainly a labor of love, and it was the first film in my career that not only did I have a chance to write and direct, but also do the cinematography on, and do the editing, and do the lighting on, and be fully hands-on with the film.
You sound like you're right up my alley, because I absolutely love Rod Serling. I absolutely love Alfred Hitchcock. And, back in the day when they were really, making the Twilight Zone era, the Alfred Hitchcock era with, Psycho, North by Northwest, the 50s and 60s was pretty, for him. Everybody wanted to work with those two.
Right.
Everybody, any interview that I've heard from people that have worked with them in those days, I mean, people are like waiting in line, beating down the door to try to get those gigs, and everybody said it was some of the greatest experiences they've ever had. And I could see that in your film when I was watching it.
Thank you.
The photography was just phenomenal. I thought. I mean, you did some really interesting things.
Thank you.
With the photography, and I don't want to give away the plot. I'm not going to come on here and spoil your film.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, though, because I really wanted to experiment, especially with camera angles. I mean, when you look at the early German expressionist films and how they experimented with not only the lighting, but with the camera angles.
Yes.
And I think that there's some scenes that worked out really well, especially, and I don't think this will give too much away, but when Stellan, the lead actor played by Nicholas Nazario, he and his wife Zella, played by Lauren Pill, they're having a very intimate moment in the bedroom, and he's handing her medication, just the different camera angles which I use to really capture the look and the facial expressions between the two characters. I think that turned out really well and is probably one of my favorite parts of the film.
The one thing that I really was kind of blown away with was after there was a scene when they were leaving a party, and you had the Vitrola music playing. It kind of comes in with that and then the music starts. And then those shots of the moon I thought were just very deep, dark, very interesting with the Vitrola music.
Yeah, playing, we got lucky. We were having a very nice full moon while shooting that, and it worked out really well. It just couldn't have been better. Yeah.
Did you use older equipment for a lot of this filming, or was it pretty much...
No, I would have wished.
Yeah.
I would have loved to, have shot the movie on actual film, but we used my Sony digital.
Okay. It was digital.
Then in the editing room, I'm a bit more... Jeff and I were very compatible in very much alike on so many ways, but the one thing that we differ on is just he likes the high HD, the 4K, super, and I prefer things to be grainy, patinaed, just rustic looking. It's just, I guess it's just because I was really influenced by, film noir and the early horror films that I would rather just make it as aged looking as possible. So that was my big fear is the editor on the film as well, is hoping that it, really came across as an old film and not something that was shot digitally and then made to look older. So,
well, we have two different film styles anyway. So,
right.
Which is weird that we get along as well as we do, and he has a completely different path than I do.
Right.
But
so, how did you come to be involved in this project?
My daughter, who was 9 at the time, Abigail, she was cast as she was Charlotte in the movie, although it doesn't say it in the credits, but she was the sister of one of the actors.
Yeah, it wouldn't be give. No, I mean it wouldn't really give too much away. Our lead character battles with some inner demons, and it all stems back to the loss of her twin sister when they were very young, and so Jeff's daughter Abigail plays.
So I took her. I wasn't going to be really part of it. I was just literally going to be the driver.
Right. Now, was your daughter involved in other things like theater, or was this her first experience with acting?
This was her first experience. The lead makeup artist was Buffy Fox, and I graduated with her.
Oh, okay,
so she contacted me about Abigail. I guess she showed a picture of Abigail to Johnny, and he liked her look. So I took her down there, and then I was going to be an extra, and then I was an extra, and then next thing you know, I was the executive producer, and here we are today.
In regards to Abigail, too, not to interrupt, but she's one of the finest little actresses that I've ever worked with. She has experience working at a local haunt.
Oh, okay.
So she really has a nice career, should she choose to go that path.
She did. She's been a little haunter since she was 5.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I used to do the whole thing for 23 years myself.
Oh, which haunt?
I used to own my own in Gambriel's, but my latest was Bennett's Curse.
Okay, Bennett's Curse. Okay, I've heard of Bennett's Curse before.
I was the production manager there for the last 5 years, and now I've retired and turned it over to my brother.
Oh, okay. And what was the one before that?
Before that would have been over in Gambriel's Maryland Sunrise Farm.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Down in Gambriel's. I know where that is.
Yes.
Right down off near, kind of before Crofton.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The old U.S. Navy dairy farm.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, that's interesting. There's so many neat things you see at haunts nowadays, too, and people just keep taking it, more and more and more, and people are always coming up with, greater and greater ideas. And I tell you, you go year to year, you see all kinds of new things popping up here. So that's getting to be kind of a genre unto itself, I think, here. So, has your daughter gotten bit yet by the acting bug, or is she...
I think she has.
That's great.
I mean, she loved her time there. She made Lorraine her big sister. I mean, they really were really good. Everybody on set was really good to her, and she loved it. But she loved the attention, so I'm sure we'll be seeing her again in something.
Yeah, well, great.
Certainly.
Definitely. I've worked the last... 2 or 3 years at Kim's Crypt up in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I know Kim rather well.
Yeah, I've had her on the show, both with Scarlet Angel and with The Haunt. And I'll tell you, she's a hoot. Never a dull moment interviewing Kim.
Never. I'm sure she brought her head with her, right?
Oh, yes, she did. Never leaves home without it, I don't think.
I'm sure. I'm not sure if she walks around with a head that looks just like her.
Yeah. She had it custom made. She molded it and everything, and it's she's actually having a new one made, so the other one's starting to wear out a bit. So that's great. So you're the fellow who played the doctor in the movie, yes. Dr. Krause.
Yes, Tim Scott.
I really liked his character, too.
Yeah.
You picked a guy with a good look for that part.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the part. Again, I'm not going to give it away, but there was a medicine show part where he was kind of...
Tim kind of fell into my lap, so to speak. He wasn't the original doctor.
It's kind of funny how they met. He was kind of there, right?
Yeah, we actually had... So my fiance's stepfather was originally supposed to play Dr. Krause.
Sure, okay.
He ended up playing the banker in the film. But originally he was supposed to be Dr. Krause, but didn't want to commit to such a laborious time schedule.
Oh, understood.
So we happened to be over at the lead actress, Lauren Pill, her parents, Bonnie Shipley Pill and Steve Summerlin. They also actually helped immensely with providing the furnishings for the film, so they helped really make it look as beautiful as it does. But Tim is a good friend of theirs, and one day while I was over there, Bonnie and Steve said, look, our friend Tim's stopping by. We don't know if you could use him, but he has a very unique look, so just study him while he's here and see if you can find anywhere to put him. And it happened at about the same time that John Martin, who plays the banker, was kind of like, I really would just like a smaller role. And so I saw Tim, and something hit me immediately. I was like, he needs to be our Dr. Krause. So
yeah, I think you chose well. He did a nice job in that part and everything.
He did do a good job.
So how did you, had you had a long, time working with a lot of these folks that were in the movie, or did you just meet them at auditions, or?
Oddly enough, I am a transplant to the Maryland area, so I know no one, and because I'm a recluse, hermit, I still
hermit?
Yeah, I still don't really know many people. So how it all came about was I had met Buffy Fox, who was the hair and makeup specialist. I had met her, I believe, via Facebook, and I was going to hire her for a music video that I was shooting.
Oh, okay.
And the music video was actually shot back in Pennsylvania, so she wasn't able to make it for the music video, but we stayed in touch. And when it came time for Noctambulist, she reached out. She's like, I'd love to do the hair and makeup for this. And she was actually the one that's responsible for introducing me to everybody in the film. So I really didn't know anyone had it not been for Buffy. And, of course, I met with everyone to see where I could fit or whether I could use them. Lauren Pill, who plays the lead of Zella, she had some prior acting experience. She was on Dawson's Creek as a child, and she played, was it Katie Holmes? Was that who was on Dawson's Creek?
Yes, it was.
On Dawson's Creek, the lead actress, Katie Holmes, Lauren actually played her sister.
Oh, is that right?
Show.
Is that right? Yeah.
And then after her acting experience on that show, I don't know if she just didn't catch the bug, but she just kind of went about her life as a regular person. And then when it came time to work with her on Noctambulist, we would joke saying, well, I'm going to bring you out of acting retirement for this film. And I'm really glad that I did, because she was phenomenal.
Oh, good. I think I think the casting was really good in the movie. Everything really seemed to work out well. People seemed to work together, and good chemistry between everybody. And I, watching the movie, you can say, one thing that's important in acting is, if somebody comes up to you and says, I believed it.
Right.
I definitely believed it when I was watching it.
Thank you.
Here. So when it came to, you really must have put a lot of work into the props and everything that you had in the movie. The furniture. Did you spend a lot of time at antique stores, or
no?
That's a funnier story, actually.
Yeah, that's the nice thing is, Buffy Fox said, I'd like you to meet my friends Bonnie and Steve, because they have a lot of 1920s antiquities in their home.
Wow.
So Buffy and I showed up at their house, and they were kind enough to, give us a full tour and opened their home up and said, you can film here, you can use all the furniture that you want, we'll rearrange everything for you.
Wow.
So that worked out really well. That was all, freebies. We didn't have to pay for it.
Pretty much their stuff.
Yeah, it was
That's
all
how
their
house looks.
all their stuff. And then I just happened to mention there's a scene, a lot of, as you know from watching the film, a lot of it is... there's a lot of dream sequences within the film, and aside from movies, the one thing that always struck a chord with me and was a big inspiration was the Book of Dante. And so several of the scenes I loosely borrowed from that. The scene where we could talk about it briefly without giving much away. The dream sequence where Lauren's walking through the field and there's sick people coughing up blood and there's fires, and that's loosely based off of some imagery that I conjured from the Book of Dante. And then there was the ferryman scene. So I had mentioned to Bonnie and Steve that I really need like a private pond or a lake somewhere that we could make this boat and have the ferryman that would take at the end go across the Stygian shores. And they were like, oh, guess what, we have one on our property. So not only did they have all the furnishings, but we went out their backyard and down a boat pier that was probably
a really long boat
pier. What, 2 miles long? I would say. A mile and a half to 2 miles long.
I was just there the other day, and it's just amazing how beautiful it is there.
Yeah. Where was it?
Eastern Shore.
The Eastern Shore, okay.
The Stevensville, Kent Island area.
Oh, sure, right. I know that area.
That's actually where most of the film was shot.
Yeah.
There's another scene with Stellan's mistress, Marlena, who was played by Nadia White, and that boat dock scene was also on the Eastern Shore as well. So pretty much the entire film with...
Any scene with the car.
Yeah, and the car, the 1931 model.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah.
Where did you get the car?
We put the word out online, and I feel terrible that I can't remember their name, but the people that owned it responded and said, we'd love to let you use it. It's a very late 20s, early 30s model, but the thing is, back then, models didn't really change that often, so you could get away with, passing that off. Now, I mean, I'm sure somebody that's like a super car enthusiast would probably pick up on something, but to your average person, they wouldn't really know, and not really a lot changed.
Was it a Ford?
Yes.
Yeah, that's. I thought it was the one. I think that's the same one that the ZZ Top girls came dancing out of in those old videos back in the day.
They weren't there that day.
They weren't there that day.
Yeah, just saying they weren't there. We looked in the trunk.
That would have been extra when it comes to renting the car, I guess, right?
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it really looks like everything. You really hit the jackpot in a lot of areas putting this film together here. You didn't really have to.
I did. Everything fell into place, which, being my dream film, and it was something that I had wanted to make for years, I guess everything did fall into place, and it happened when it was, meant to happen.
Right. I mean, it seems like, like I said, everything, all the ducks went right in a row on their own. You didn't have to worry about anything.
No, and even though everything fell into place, I still took my time with it. I think from pre-production to the time that we wrapped and then edited and the film saw fruition, we're looking at about a 2.5 year process to close to 3 years, just because I really took my time with it to make sure that everything was, everything fell into place until post. And with editing, everything went good. It was just the soundtrack.
Right.
Had some delay.
Yep. So the soundtrack, you had, I noticed that it seemed like, a lot of different types of jazz and other things on there. Where did you get the...
Some of the jazz that I used was royalty free. There were other musical... there are other musical arrangements which I composed myself. And initially I was going to compose the entire soundtrack. But doing all the editing and, the writing, directing, cinematography, everything like that, it was really difficult to find the spare time to, write and record the entire soundtrack. So originally I wanted to have an all-original soundtrack. And, like I said, I initially had planned on doing the entire soundtrack, but when I realized that it just, due to lack of time, it wasn't feasible, I reached out to a couple. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but they're well-known musicians who have been in, the goth and industrial music scene since the early 80s. And the first gentleman that I reached out to, he was on board, watched the film, loved it, said that he had scored the soundtrack for it. Then about a month later, he dropped off, and I never heard from him again. He just didn't have the courage to tell me that it was too much for him to take on. So I reached out to another musician who was also well known in the genre and industry, and he flat out told me after watching it, he's like, "This is gorgeous, but for a 2-hour silent film, the amount of music that I would need to compose for this, I'm going to be looking at like 6 to 8 months straight of doing nothing else other than doing this. And so he politely turned it down. So then it was back into my court again, and I just knew, I was like, there's just, also I don't have the time to do the whole soundtrack, so I used some of what I wrote and then used a lot of royalty-free music to add in there.
And I thought it all worked well, you know. Again, I was watching it and listening and everything. So I'm an old musician myself too, you know.
Right.
Yeah, many years ago in the goth scene too, you know, believe it or not. It was late 80s and early 90s. It was,
I think we talked about that on the last show before.
At Archseed Parade, I was the bass player in that band from 89 until 92. And
never know. One of these days I might bring you out of retirement for a score.
Yeah, let me know. You know, so okay, great. Yeah, but the one thing I wanted to tell you, you know, about, and we were talking about, you know, the decor in the houses and everything. You know, I had great grandparents who would have been, I guess, the age of the characters during the time, and almost felt like I was in their house watching this movie and everything. And I mean, it didn't seem like you missed a thing when it came to. The location. You know, I had seen. There had been a couple of movies that I'd seen in the past where I forget what it was. It was either like it may have been like a caveman movie or something where they were filming it, but they didn't notice that there was a telephone pole in the background or a car driving by or something like that.
We really tried to be meticulous when it came to, I mean, to the point that Steve Summerlin actually helped out a good bit, because he and I would go back and forth. There's a scene where Stellan and Zella pull into the driveway of the home, and we... studying everything, I was looking and you could see the lines on the road. And, I said, Steve, I don't know, we might have to reshoot that scene. I might have to go with a different camera angle. And we looked it up, and sure enough, there were lines on the road then. So, we were just that meticulous about everything, trying to make sure that everything was, of course, when you're working on a micro budget in 2000, and, at that time it was 15 and 2016, when you're working on a micro budget and doing a period piece, it's really difficult to try to make it as era appropriate as possible, but we really did try to catch anything that was unsightly and not of the era.
Right. So the actor who played Stellan, where did you find him?
I found him on the Facebook Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, West Virginia actors page.
Oh, okay.
So he posted his resume up there, and I just forwarded it off to Johnny.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. And the poet, the blonde lady.
That is Nadia White.
Nadia White.
Yeah, the mistress.
Yes, the mistress.
Yeah, we, I guess, Nadia and I were friends on Facebook for quite some time. And I know she probably won't mind if I say this, but her profession is she's in the porn industry. She's a porn actress. And I guess a very well-known porn actress at that. So when I reached out to her, she had been in some B-horror films, and she likes to joke and say that normally her role is she flashes her tits and then gets killed. That's usually what happens.
Pretty much how she says it, too.
So when I offered her a role in Noctambulist, I told her, this is going to be something completely different than what you've ever done, even with the other horror movies that you've been in. I guess... I don't know, not that I'm prudish or anything, but my style of filmmaking, I don't like to show nudity.
Sure, right.
And I don't like vulgarity either.
Yeah.
I just, not that there's anything wrong with it for other filmmakers, but I guess it just goes back to being inspired by the older filmmakers, where, there wasn't... a lot of nudity or vulgarity, and, I'm not even really into a lot of... brutal violence and people having their organs and intestines ripped out. It's just, I think that the mind creates horrors far worse than anything that we could blatantly show on the screen. So going back to the psychological terrors, that means a lot to me. So Nadia, I think, was actually very very pleased to be in a film, and she's actually such a phenomenal actress.
She is. I think she really did a nice job with everything. So you've got the release date for this coming out here. I think you said something about later in January?
January 22nd.
22nd, yeah.
Okay, and where are we going to be able to... Is this going to be in a theater? Is it going to be released online? How are you going to...
No, actually, it's distributed through SGL Entertainment.
Okay.
So it'll be available through all major movie retailers, Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target.
You can pre-order it now on Amazon.
Yeah, you can pre-order right now on Amazon on Blu-ray and DVD,
Right.
which both discs, by the way, are double discs. So I believe that the second disc is nothing but bonus features. And
That's correct. Yeah.
So, but yeah, all the major movie retailers, so there shouldn't be a reason not to see it if you want to check it out anyway.
Do you have any promotional events coming up? Are you signing or doing any appearances for it?
Well, again, because I'm such a recluse individual, I don't really. But no, there is actually something coming up that Jeff doesn't even know about yet, because
That's why I'm giving him the eye now.
I just found out about it before the interview, as a matter of fact. So Buffy Fox, our makeup and hair specialist, contacted me. Apparently, a theater has recently opened on the Eastern Shore.
Oh, great.
I guess she probably discussed it with you at some point, but it's a theater/restaurant, I believe, and the inside of the theater is all decked out with old posters from silent films and silent noir films, and
great.
Buffy had spoken to the owner and mentioned Noctambulist, and they're interested in having it shown there. Again, this all just came to light within a half hour of today's interview. So I'll be getting with them shortly to discuss screenings. But I mean, it has screened well before it was even, I guess right after it was edited, it screened at the Worldcon 75 International Film Festival, which was held in Helsinki, Finland. And that is one of the, in my opinion, the most prestigious film festivals in the world. The Film Fest has been running for the past 75 years. The only year that it didn't show was during World War II. They closed down for 1 year during World War II and then opened back up and have been running ever since. So to have the film screened in Helsinki, Finland was a huge honor. Unfortunately, I didn't attend, but I probably wouldn't have anyhow.
Right. Did you get any feedback?
Yeah, we the gentleman, Nat Sanez, who was responsible for running the festival, had contacted me the day of the festival. I guess when it was showing, he was taking photos, and I guess it screened to a sold-out room.
Oh.
And, everybody seemed to really enjoy it, so that was exciting.
Oh, good.
So I got to live vicariously through Nat's photos and emails and
stuff
like that.
Right. So I was just wondering, Jeff, you were the executive producer here on the film, and have you had any other projects recently that you've done?
Well, actually, Johnny and I have two upcoming projects. This summer, we'll be filming his film, The Charnel House Vault.
Okay.
That's exclusively being shot, well, except for one scene in West Virginia.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then I have my own movie coming out called The Linthicum Witch, Victoria's Curse, which is immediately after his filming in the fall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we. The funny thing about it, if I may interrupt here, is that since we get along so well, even though he and I have such a different style of filmmaking. This, the Linthicum Witch will be Jeff's first film, but we merged. We like to say we're sister companies now.
Yeah, I mean, we're two film companies, but I mean, if he films something, we're there, and vice versa.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, I'll be helping Jeff with his film, and he's helping me with the Charnel House Vault. So it's great. We work out really well, and it's nice to have someone ease the burden a little bit.
Right. So the Linthicum Witch, that's going to be your project coming out. Is that based on I know this area has a lot of legends. We had the Blair Witch. We also had the Goat Man down in Laurel or Bowie near a government
Beltsville.
Beltsville, that's where it was. Yeah, down that way. Is the Linthicum Witch a local folklore?
We'll go with, sure, why not?
Okay, hey, why not? I'll go with that.
It will be, but no, I wrote it.
Oh, okay.
So it's based off two gals back in the 1853, to be precise, that were accused of witchcraft, and it's not like it was illegal back in that year, but the lynch mob came by, took care of it themselves, and there was a curse by the one sister who was indeed a witch.
Oh.
So that spreads to today, and it just goes from there.
Oh, okay. That sounds interesting. You'll have to come back and talk to me when that's about ready to come out.
Oh yeah, it'll be a while, but I mean, we still got the Charnel House Vault, so it's gonna. I mean, it's been a lot of fun already. We have pre-production meetings every Friday, so
yeah, we're hoping to shoot for summer. I don't know.
Yep.
I might push it back.
Do you have any anything you can tell me about that one?
With the Charnel House Vault?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's actually very funny how the film came about. Is that coming right off of Noctambulist, I had no desire to make another film immediately anyway.
Right. Well, I'm sure you were probably tired, it took its toll on you.
Yeah, so I wanted to focus on, I'm also a published author, so I wanted to take some time and just work on, my next book. And Jeff had such a wonderful time working on Noctambulist that he called me up, early fall, mid-fall, and said, Johnny, we just acquired a new home in West Virginia. It's kind of our getaway home, and would really like to make another film with you. And they had a really creepy root cellar on the property.
I didn't even know what it was. I really didn't.
And
so I almost scared to open the door.
Yeah, so he and his wife had talked me and my fiance into driving out to West Virginia for a day and just scouting the property to see if it was something that I'd be interested in. And of course I immediately fell in love with the root cellar. And oddly enough, because although Noctambulist has its horror elements, I've been slowly trying to leave the world of horror filmmaking and go strictly into just film noir. But as soon as I say that, Jeff's, makes this offer about filming, and when I saw the property, it just lent itself to be a vampire film. So now here I am back in the full-fledged world of horror.
That's all I do, man.
But not that there's anything wrong with that. But,
absolutely not.
Also,
I love horror.
Yeah,
that's great.
But aside from horror, I was influeed by Laurel and Hardy and the Marx Brothers.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
Charlie Chaplin, and so there's a lot of other style of old films that I would like to do as well, aside from just horror. But so I was going to get away from
buddy.
it, and he reined me back in and said no. So but I'm really looking forward to it, and I tease, but I'm not afraid. We say we're going to shoot starting June 1st, but we're still looking for actors and actresses, and we still have a lot to get together. And if it's not ready, I don't want to rush it, because Noctambulist was so perfect, in my opinion, that it needs to be followed up with something equally solid.
I agree. So if somebody was interested in an audition for these movies, your project's coming up, how would they reach you?
They can find me on Facebook. You can go to Facebook, the Charnel House Vault, or just look up Johnny Daggers. Or they can go to officialjohnnydaggers.com, which is my website, and they can send me an email.
So you're a big Laurel and Hardy fan, huh?
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to the movie coming out.
Yeah, I'd like to see that myself.
Looks incredible.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, over the holidays, Babes in Toyland was on.
Nice.
And whenever I get a chance to watch them, the thing that was really interesting about that, I've heard a number of people that were big fans, in the past of Laurel and Hardy, and Stan Laurel. After Oliver Hardy passed away, he did not perform again.
Right.
That's just
I mean, the movie, you could see how sad the movie's probably going to be in part. So I like that. I like that they focus on that, because that's a very important aspect, I think.
But people could call him on the phone. A number of actors I've heard on a couple of other podcasts. They looked him up in the telephone book, and he actually sat there and talked to him for about a half an hour when they were kids. He was a real, approachable, down-to-earth kind of guy. And, I've heard a lot of great stories about the Marx Brothers, too. You really, there's some of their movies are hit or miss. I think, the earlier ones, I think, the better.
Right, of course.
Then after a while, did you ever see Skidoo?
I have seen Skidoo. Yes, I have. It's been quite a while since I've seen it, but I have seen Skidoo before. Not to digress, I was going to say, with you mentioning Skidoo, and I was thinking of some other films that I love too. I'm also a huge Woody Allen and Mel Brooks fan as well.
Yeah.
So, just throwing that out there. There's a lot of different things that I like to throw in.
How about, you mentioned Rod Serling before, and to get back to that, do you have a favorite Twilight Zone episode?
I do. I mean, there's so many.
So many to choose from.
So many, and I do have the entire collection right behind me.
Yeah.
My two favorites, and they're probably two of the more popular ones I would imagine would be Time Enough at Last.
Yes,
just because I do love my books. And the other one would probably be Eye of the Beholder, and I believe my cat's attacking me. Yes, hi Po. But yes, Eye of the Beholder would be the other one that I love.
Yeah, let me see. The one, Hocus Pocus and Frisbee was a good one.
Yes.
That guy, he was just such a BSer, and then all of a sudden he kind of almost got called on it, but those aliens believed him,
right,
and brought him up on the ship, and then To Serve Man.
Yes, To Serve Man's a good one too.
Let me see. Again, there's so many of them I could watch, and I think.
The other episode I love, too, not to interrupt, there's the one where the guy wakes up, I guess he's in the isolation chamber or whatever, I believe, and he wakes up and there's no one in the town.
Where is everyone?
Where is everyone?
That was the first one.
Yeah, that's another favorite of mine. And what was the one with, why am I drawing a blank on his name from Star Trek?
Shatner.
William Shatner, where they had the fortune teller.
Yes, the little devil on the fortune teller.
Yeah,
I forget the title of that one, but...
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that one as well.
Shatner started a lot of things, let's face it. Halloween 1 was Shatner.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I think just about all the Halloweens, I don't know if he ever got a royalty on that or anything, but...
No, I don't know. But yeah, Shatner, especially when he was on the Twilight Zones, those were some of my favorites.
Are you a Twilight Zone fan too?
I haven't seen a ton of them. I mean, I did when I was young, but I haven't watched every. He always asked me if I've watched this or that or another, and I just never have any time anymore to watch anything.
Yeah.
I have a backlog of movies to watch and shows to watch, and when I'm 80, I'll get to them all.
Right, absolutely. But and you mentioned Night Gallery too. I don't know that. Serling had as much say over that series as far as the production of it. I know he was the host, but I would think, and you're a film guy, like I can ask you, and you kind of prefer black and white. Looking at some of the episodes of Night Gallery with the effects and everything, not quite the greatest.
No.
Are you able to get away with more in black and white than you are in color?
Yeah, I believe so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I was just thinking, some of the things that they did, and again, I don't really know how much he did with that show besides host it, really. I don't think he wrote many of the episodes or anything. I mean, you always saw that I would say he probably wrote about 75% of the Twilight Zone ones, you know. But the Night Gallery ones, I don't think he wrote as many.
That I'm not certain of.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could be right.
Yeah. But I did like how he adapted a lot of. He adapted quite a few Bradbury.
I love Ray Bradbury.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorites.
Ambrose Bierce. They did. It wasn't one that was actually produced by the Twilight Zone, but it was a French film that they put on as an episode. An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. That was one that I think that they did. I think that might have been towards the end of the show. Okay. But that was another really cool episode. But when holidays come around, if I didn't have so much to do with my family, I'd just park myself on the couch, and whenever I look on TV and I'm like, oh man, there's a Twilight Zone episode on, but we have to go here. Damn. Yeah. And even though I own the whole series, I could just watch them anyway.
It's one of those things, even though you own it when it comes on TV, you still have to stop and watch it.
You sure do. You sure do.
And we joke about that here at our house. It's like, we own the DVD, but it's on the television right now, so... And it used to be, I don't know if it was was it TBS? I know they used to. I think it was TBS back in the day. Every New Year's Eve it was Twilight Zone Marathon.
Yep. It's usually,
at least in the early 2000s they did it. I don't know if they still do.
I think it's on Sci-Fi now. They usually do it New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Usually either Memorial Day, sometimes 4th of July, or something like that, So what kinds of films, and we mentioned, we like the Twilight Zone. Any other kind of inspiration for the things that you've done or the things that you're planning to do?
I like Tim Burton stuff. Like
Tim
I
Burton,
love Sleepy Hollow, for instance. Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. A lot of people didn't like it, but I did. I mean, I look at all the sceneries and and it's just amazing. The church is still standing. That's all that's left. But they built that entire town.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't just facades or anything like that. It was the whole shooting match. So, I mean, I really enjoyed that. I mean, personally, I like all kind of movies. I don't particularly watch the black and white ones, of course, and that's why I shoot in color and Johnny does the black and white.
Yeah.
So, I like Halloween. I don't like a lot of the newer ones, although the new one that came out I did enjoy.
Was it the Rob Zombie one, or was it another one?
I didn't like those. A new one came out with Jamie Lee Curtis was in it again.
Oh, did the original director,
John Carpenter was there, but really I think it was more of a naming thing than him having any real input. I think he gave his opinion type thing. But
yeah. Those were good. I like the Halloween movies. Halloween 1 and 2
were great.
What did you think of the third
I
one?
will even say that it's not hung up anymore. I used to have the poster hanging up on the wall here, but see, I love Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
I loved it. I did, because it was supposed to be.
If Asafa Akkad would have named that film anything other than Halloween 3, it would be one of the most iconic 80s horror films.
Yeah.
But people can't detach themselves from expecting to see Michael Myers in your typical Halloween film.
It was never supposed to go that
way. But it wasn't. And if you just look at it as a standalone film, it's absolutely incredible. I'm a huge fan of that movie.
Yeah, and all the 80s horror movies were great. But Halloween was supposed to be a new thing every movie based off of Halloween stories.
Yeah.
Kind of like Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat's another one,
Michael Dougherty.
Yeah. So I like all those, but I'll watch action movies and things like that. But I'm not going to do an action movie, that's for sure.
Right. Did you guys ever see Reanimator?
Oh, I love Reanimator.
Wasn't that great?
I love Bride of Reanimator.
Bride of Reanimator.
Jeffrey Combs is incredible. I like
Jeffrey. That guy.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors.
I really do. Yeah, I like that guy. Another one from the 80s. Here's a story I remember was, and you guys are in my age group, you probably remember too. I guess it was like 86, 87, the movie Faces of Death came out.
Yes, and several of them.
Yeah, several of them came out. And the one gimmick with it was banned in 200 countries all over the world. Well, are there 200 countries? I don't know, but
that might be if you start including every little town in Africa. But
every little island that's out there. But
that was
it doesn't leave many left where it could be shown in. But I digress. But Evil Dead 2 came out in the theaters, and I can remember being home one night. I worked, and I was just sitting in my room, and I turned on the radio, and you hear this completely hyped up ad for it. This movie has been banned in all these countries, and only you have to be 18. Nobody under 18 positively can get into this movie. It's this shocking.
Yes, no one with heart conditions.
Yeah, heart conditions or pregnant or anything, anxiety issues or anything like that. And then, so I was like, I'm going. So I found out where it was. I got there, and I was prepared to see some stuff, man. But I got there, and I sat down, and I was crying myself laughing after about 10 minutes at the way they did that. I see what they did there to get people in, to the movies, and
that was so common. Back then it was so common, and I think that I don't know. It's a good film. I love the film. But
this podcast is banned in 200 countries.
Yes, I know it will be soon. I guess I don't know.
Don't listen. Don't you dare.
Yeah, don't you dare listen to this podcast. It's banned
except
in 200
for this
countries.
episode.
This episode, yeah.
But that's why they'll listen because you told them not to.
Right.
It's the whole reverse psychology.
Yeah, that one. I tell you, that was a great era in horror movies. And it seemed like every decade or whatever kind of has their own sort of theme to horror.
We're in a repeat decade is what we're in.
Yeah,
we're in a sad. And I think that's, for me, honestly, I think that it was I don't think I realized it at the time of making Noctambulist, and I was thinking about this the other day for whatever reason, and I believe that subconsciously Noctambulist was kind of a backlash to a whole lot of what's going on right now with not only horror, but also in our daily lives. I'm so against anything with technology. I can't stand it. I don't want an Alexa. I don't like smartphones. I miss the days of, Jeff and I are very opposite in that aspect. But I think that, with me making the order films and Noctambulist, because Jeff brought up a good point, is with the newer films, especially with the horror genres, they just want to keep rehashing, doing remake after remake.
It's opening the door for us is what it's doing.
And it just makes me want to run the opposite way and say, okay, well, I'm just going to start making films, from the turn of the century. And,
right.
I don't know.
Well, I do admire the fact that this is your interpretation, or this is your way of preserving a tradition. That is. I'm sure these silent movies still exist out there because I've seen them on TV. But having somebody see something like that, and there may be people coming out to see this, or giving your movie a chance that may not have even seen a silent movie before. Or really,
true. And I know that making a silent film and releasing it in the year 2019 is definitely not the most financially wise move. But that wasn't something that was a concern to me. For me, it was about the art. And, in a lot of ways, it is very much an art house film. Right. And, I know there's been people in my life years back when I had to have a normal day job and worked with a younger girl that was like, I don't like black and white movies. Okay, why? Well, they're stupid. Why are they stupid? Because they're in black and white. And that was her whole reason. I just don't like it because, it's like, well, have you ever sat down and really... So I know that there's going to be a lot of people that, number one, probably don't want to sit down and watch Noctambulist because it's black and white, and then they find out that it's silent. So I'm really limiting my audience, but I'm hoping that, the film opens the minds to some people that might not be familiar with silent films and black and white films.
Well, I think it was an excellent tribute, from the silent movies that I have seen, in the past. I think it was a really good tribute and everything.
Thank you. I did try to make the pacing a little bit faster, as you probably noticed, than what the original silent films were. So I wanted to stay true to the era, but also just because people in the 21st century would be watching this film, I wanted to make the pacing a little bit more modern with it, while still staying true.
Yeah, exactly. Well, great. I tell you, I've really enjoyed coming over and speaking to you guys about this here.
It's definitely a pleasure being on.
I definitely enjoyed watching the movie and everything. I thought it was very well done. And tell us again where we can come see and purchase and all those other good things about the movie.
Noctambulist is available through all major movie retailers, which is distributed by SGL Entertainment. So you can find us right now, as Jeff mentioned earlier. It's available for pre-order on Amazon.
Yes.
But you can also get it at Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, all the major movie retailers. And you can follow us on Facebook at Noctambulist Film.
Yeah.
And then also with the next film, the Charnel House Vault.
And the Linthicum Witch, Victoria's Curse. But if you just look up the Linthicum Witch, you'll find it.
Okay, great. Well, excellent, fellas. Well, thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you for having us.
Go out and check them out. Go out and check them out, folks. And thank you for listening.